Hi everybody, welcome to another video on this series on powerful writing to gain influence, avoid miscommunication, and hence save costs to yourself and your organization. We continue to talk about how to write simple and direct sentences, and today we will learn how to compare correctly. Remember, sentences are the clearest, most forceful, and easiest to understand if they are simple and direct. If instead the sentences are complicated and not direct, the reader is slowed down and even confused. So far, we have seen 5 simple techniques on writing simple and direct sentences. These techniques are: make the topic the subject of the sentence, move the action into a verb, avoid noun clusters, write short sentences, use pronouns clearly, and use parallel ideas in parallel forms. Links to the corresponding videos are in the description beneath this video on YouTube. Let's now discuss today's powerful idea. Check this sentence. The average score in maths had a 20% decrease compared to English. What does that sentence mean? Does it mean the average score in maths decreased by 20% more than it did in English? Or the average score decreased by 20% in maths, but it did not decrease in English? Or the average score in maths was 20% less than that in English? If you're thinking about why we used that there, do not worry, because we shall discuss that shortly. However, note that because the sentence at the top of the slide uses compared to, the sentence is ambiguous and can imply any of the 3 meanings which do not use compared to. So to avoid the ambiguity, avoid using compared to. In fact, the comparison in this sentence is so bad, it does not even make sense grammatically. To understand that, let's simplify this sentence. Now it reads, A had a 20% decrease compared to B. That sets an expectation that A and B must be comparable. But instead, A is the average score in maths, whereas B is just English. So essentially, we were comparing apples with oranges. That means we were comparing things that must not be compared. This is happening because the compared entities do not have the same grammatical structure, or, as we described in the previous video, they are not in a parallel form. Now we can revise the sentence to be in the parallel form as: the average score in maths had a 20% decrease compared to the average score in English. Or if we do not wish to repeat the average score, we can say the average score in maths had a 20% decrease compared to that in English. Notice, despite these revisions, the sentence is still ambiguous and all the 3 meanings in the previous slide still apply. Here are some more examples of comparing things which cannot be compared. We found a higher concentration at 20 degrees centigrade compared to 30 degrees centigrade. We can revise as: we found a higher concentration at 20 degrees centigrade than at 30 degrees centigrade. Note we repeated the preposition at, and now the comparison is valid. We can still make invalid comparisons even when we are not using compared to. For instance, the results in this study are similar to the previous study. Not a valid comparison. We revise as: the results in this study are similar to those in the previous study. Another example is: this performance resembles the other methods. So we revise as: the performance of these methods resembles that of the other methods. Notice in our revisions, sometimes we repeat a preposition like at to say than at 30 degrees centigrade, and at other times we add those or that to say than those in or than that of. Question is, how should we choose? Fortunately, the rule is really simple. If the comparison term is together, add those or that as appropriate. For example, the flow in this pipe is more than that in the other pipe. In this case, the comparison term is more than, and this term is written together. So we used that. Otherwise, if the comparison term is split, we simply repeat an appropriate preposition. So we write, the flow is more in this pipe than in the other pipe. In this case, the comparison term more than is split. So we repeat the preposition in. Sometimes we present two independent statements as a comparison when we really do not need it. For example, the average accuracy in the first experiment was 23% compared to the second experiment. Note the average accuracy in the first experiment can be stated independently. It is not necessary to compare it with another accuracy, but the use of compared to is causing this problem. So we can revise as, the average accuracy in the first experiment was 23%, while that in the second experiment was 25%. But if we must compare, then we can state like this. The average accuracy in the first experiment was more than that in the second experiment. In summary, whenever possible, avoid using compared to, because it compares ambiguously, compares unlike things, compares independent statements, or compares using long and complex sentences. So that completes the lesson today, and here's some homework for you. Please follow the instructions carefully and leave your answers in the comments below this video. So that's it for today. Next up will be the last lesson on writing simple and direct sentences. Avoid common writing flaws. Thereafter, we shall move on to writing good paragraphs. If you enjoyed this video, please leave your feedback, answers, and discussions under this video, and also look at the work left by others so you can learn from their work. Also, if you wish to know when the next video is out, but you have not yet subscribed to this channel, press the subscribe button underneath this video, which may look like this or this. And once you do that, the subscribe button will turn gray. Do not press it again if it is already gray, because doing that will unsubscribe you. If you have just subscribed, a bell icon will also appear. Press that as well, and a ringing bell will appear. As before, do not press the bell if it already appears ringing. Thank you, and see you in the next video.